And here we go for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And the lights go out. Oscar Piastri starting in first place. Lando Norris on the inside. And Lando Norris leads the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton going up for fifth place. Antonelli right there, right behind trying to defend. But Lewis Hamilton gets in front of the Italian. And Lewis Hamilton already up to third place. What an overtake for Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris leading the race. Hamilton right behind. Trying to keep up with the slipstream. Oscar Piastri trying to turn off Hamilton right there. Lando Norris trying to get away from the 7-time world champion through the tight bends of Brazil. Lewis Hamilton right behind. Trying to catch him with all the overtaking boost. Oscar Piastri right behind. Stealing the podium from Isaac Hadjar. Lewis Hamilton right there, right behind Norris, and also right in front of Oscar Piastri, and could actually make it right there, and could make it. And Oscar Piastri right behind, following on. Lewis Hamilton going through the bends, and Lewis Hamilton getting really close to Lando Norris and takes the overtake and leads the Brazilian Grand Prix. Well done to Lewis Hamilton. The gap is very tight, but Lewis Hamilton opens the gap, and now we have a second gap from Lando Norris and Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli defending George Russell and trying to get an upper hand through the upper bends, and Hamilton leading the race on the second lap and becoming up to the third lap of the Grand Prix. The two McLarens trying to catch up to each other and trying to get to the first place mark, but Hamilton went a bit wide there. What happened there? And we come around, and here we go, going up to the third lap of the Grand Prix. George Russell right behind Kimi Antonelli, trying to find a gap through, using all the overtaking boost, but seems like he can't catch Kimi Antonelli. Lewis Hamilton still leading on the third lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix, going through the tight corners and the straight bends mixed together on this Grand Prix. Lando Norris right behind, and Oscar Piastri fighting now. The gap is closing. Isaac Hadjar getting really close to Oscar Piastri. Lewis Hamilton going a bit wide for some reason. What's going on with Lewis Hamilton? Braking a bit early there. Lewis Hamilton, some views from Lewis Hamilton going through the race tiles of the track, those green and yellow white things there, going very fast. I'm probably going to win the Grand Prix, and we're coming up to the last lap, or the fourth lap of the Grand Prix. Now Lando Norris closing the gap, and nearly it might win the Grand Prix. Now, Lewis Hamilton leading the Grand Prix, going slower on this lap, but might make it through on the fourth lap, closing up to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris right behind, trying to catch him on the corner and trying to fight with Lewis Hamilton, slowing down a bit there, went a bit wide, and George Russell gets it past Kimi Antonelli, goes 2 places up past Piastri, and Antonelli sitting in the F1 drive of shame down there. Lewis Hamilton still leading the race, coming up to the last lap of the Grand Prix, followed by Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar did some overtaking moves back there, and doing some great maneuvers. And coming up to the 5th lap of the Grand Prix. Woo. Here we go, 5th lap of the Grand Prix. Isaac Hadjar defending off George Russell. George Russell getting incredibly close. George Russell getting incredibly close right there. And Max Verstappen, I don't know what he's doing in 9th place. Not doing that well at all, even though he is leading the championship. And Lando Norris gets in front of Hamilton, but Hamilton leads and defends Lando Norris. What a maneuver for Lewis Hamilton. Isaac Hadjar trying to defend George Russell, going through the final bends of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton getting all the adrenaline, maneuvering through the last corners of the Grand Prix. What a nice day to have a race. Lando Norris right behind and Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar trying to defend George Russell and Lewis Hamilton coming up to the last corners of the Grand Prix. And Lewis Hamilton leading in 1st place. Who's gonna win it? And Lewis Hamilton wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, followed by Lando Norris and Isaac Hadjar. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Woohoo!